Well, hello, people. It's Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching the Mark Holmes Joe Boo's day job, of course, with my son Michael Anthony Fitness, and we're getting working actually on this rental unit. As Michael was saying, this isn't as bad as what we had actually next door 2 years back. Well, we came in, me and my wife last week, and we took up all the floor in here and things. I went through and I started spackling up the walls, so a little bit of sanding in here will be fine, and we're gonna actually spray these. Thing I forgot to do was to turn the power back on in my name, in which case the power is off right now. But the good thing is we have most of our tools that are actually cordless, DeWalt tools. And had I been smart enough, I could have brought the charger, which is actually an inverter. So you put the batteries on it and you've got actually 20 amps of power. What we're going to do with this, and this is one of the things about being a landlord. For me, it's good because we do the work. The problem is if you become a landlord and you have to pay somebody else to do all the work, then it becomes really, really tight budgeted on what you're able to do. That's not to say that I got money, you're not making a whole lot of money, but what you're building is equity, and you're continuing revenues, and you're having tax write-offs and things like that. Now, the way this place works was I originally got this house, put the phone down here. I originally got this place was a foreclosure. It's 2 units. It's 2,500 square foot between the two of them. It's 2 levels, and there's 2 bathrooms and really 4 bedrooms. This was a foreclosure about 12 years ago, and when I bought it originally, it was about the shape it is now. This is not terrible. I know it looks terrible. This is not terrible. I've had much, much worse. We got it. We've been renting it for the 12 years that we've had it, and for the most part, I've been good with tenants that usually get here and stay. And a lot of times I've had some tenants as long as 9, 10 years being in the same location and really take care of the place. The problem is maintenance. And what I will tell anybody, if you buy a place or become a landlord, typically I will go through and I will gut out everything, because I literally buy the worst house. Have you seen like the DUI, nightmare homes? I buy ones, or at least I used to buy ones in worse shape, that I've literally got to take it down to the studs and put in new wiring, new plumbing, new air conditioning, just start all over. And I will tell you, you are better off fixing things from the beginning. It's better to go ahead, put in new appliances, put in good fixtures and things if you're planning on keeping it, because if you don't, you're going to get eaten up by the service calls. The fortunate thing for me was, because the places that I have, we went through and put in new stuff. You don't get the maintenance calls on a regular basis where stuff breaks down. Now, you will end up getting some people that will just tear stuff up. And then you'll get other ones that the drop of a hat, they will call you constantly and say, this is not working. Or that's as much as a pain in the rear end as it is to have people that constantly are calling you about stuff that seems mundane, those are the ones that actually take care of your property. The ones you have to worry about are the ones you never get calls on. And hence, I've learned, and this is where my wife is becoming part of the business of this, is setting up like a regular maintenance schedule. Maintenance and or inspection, however you want to call it. Because things like air conditioning filters, you can't rely on the tenant to always go through and change the filters on the regular. One, if you don't change the filters, your energy bills will be higher. 2, if you don't change the filters, you're actually risking the unit freezing up and having damage done to it and having to have more work done on it later on and more cost. Because what will happen is they don't change the filter, they've got the units just running and running and running and running, and it freezes up, and then they call you and say, my air conditioning isn't working. You call a service call, now I got somebody who's got to come over and do a check on it, and they say the unit's froze up, filter's not, it's clogged up. So turn the unit on fan, let it run for a day, and then they'll come back with another service call, They'll go through having to clean the coils and change the filter, and now all of a sudden you're in $500. Or worse, the unit freezes up and destroys itself because they don't call you, and it's just running and running and running and destroys, and you find out it's R22 gas. And that brings me to the next point. Sometimes it's better off buying new and starting over than dealing with old. Unfortunately, when I did these projects, it was R22 gas Freon in the units, okay? That gas is now no longer produced. Hence, you're buying a keg of this, it's like $800 for a keg of it, as opposed to the new gas, which is like $75. So service on those older units cost a whole lot more. And these are things you don't necessarily know when you buy a place unless you are in the business. But what I would say is use good materials. Don't skip to say, I'm just going to do this half-ass because it's cheap. Because the problem is, if you buy cheap flooring, it gets torn up. You got to turn around and redo it every time somebody else goes in there. You get what you pay for. If you buy a cheap ceiling fan, it's not going to make it for any length of time with those tenants. And I know a lot of you look at it and say, I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on this because people are going to tear it up. Well, this is true, but that all goes back to having regular inspections and making sure service is taken care of. Because it's easier to change a filter every month than it is 6 months down the road having to change a unit. So we're going to go ahead and get working on this. The people that were here, unfortunately, broke the window there, which seems bad. It does seem bad. But the good thing is we can get replacement windows that we can take these out and get those done. We'll go through and we'll sand the walls today. We'll sand these and actually go through and re-caulk all the molding and stuff so it's prepped. And we'll get tape because we're going to actually spray this. Since we've taken out all the flooring in here, and the ceiling and the walls were already painted the same color to begin with, we'll spray it because that'll be a lot quicker to get in and out of, and then put new floorings down in here, and it'll be much, much nicer. So, hope you guys follow along with what we're going to have to do here. Like I said, you can see the window over here is broken, and we'll just take this whole sash out. It's 32 inches wide, 54 inches tall, roughly. That's the size window that you can get, which is a standard window. We'll take the trim off here, take the metal off of this, and this will give us a nice opening to put in here, end up shooting some insulation foam around it, and we'll do that on both sides. That'll be good. We'll go up here. You can see where the caulk and stuff is dried out. We'll cut all that stuff out and clean it up. There's a few nail pops right here. We'll tap those and do those as well. The light fixtures, we'll soak that and see if it comes clean and get that squared away. We'll tape off the windows to make sure we don't get paint on that when we spray it. But by spraying it, it'll make it a lot better. Other thing we'll do is we'll go through, take off all the plug covers here, get new ones for them, and we'll cover that with tape so that way when we spray we don't get that on there. Make sure all the plugs and things work good. We'll get new registers to go around in here. Thing I do like about this space is, you've got the driveway up here. We're going to get a truckload of gravel. We need to put some in there. It's basically overgrown. Is you still have a nice sized front yard. There's a deck over here. Got this upstairs living room, kitchen combination. There's 2 bedrooms up on this level and a bathroom, and then you go downstairs, it mirrors it as well. So there's really 4 bedrooms that are in here. So it's actually a nice spot. It'll look a lot nicer when we get finished. Oh, one other final thing we'll do in here is we'll get a new microwave, and everything is going to stainless steel these days. But definitely put a new microwave in it. And the cabinets here are actually, they're old. They were here when I originally bought it, but they're actually a lot solider than what we used to have or what you get nowadays. So we're going to keep these, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to paint the doors over. We're going to use a kitchen cabinet paint, which is a thicker paint. that's better for those cabinets. To refresh it, we'll probably do it a color, maybe a gray or a blue, just to give it a little pizzazz and make it kind of jump off of the other colors. And we'll change like these old light fixtures. We'll put a new one in here, and look at this. Y'all understand that you need to clean things like this, right? This is, look at this. How do people not clean? I mean, that's just trifling. That's trifling. And of course, down through here is where they had the dogs and just literally left them here, letting them piss and everything on the carpet. We sprayed that down when we were here last time. So the odor is not as strong as it once was. We're going to spray it down again. And then once we do that again, let that dry out, we're going to end up using the laminate flooring. We're going to take the laminate flooring that's going to be in here. We're going to run it actually down the hallway as well. But we'll need to cover this with another sheet of plywood. But before we do, we'll let that dry out. We'll end up using Kills on top of it to seal it, so that way that odor won't be there. Oh, one final thing too. I hate to discriminate, but do not let people smoke in your properties. Next door, the people had been in there for 12 years, and they smoked and smoked heavily. When people smoke, and it's up to you to smoke. When they smoke in a location, the thing is that tar and nicotine literally yellows the wall. And what happens when you go to paint it? The paint won't stick.
You have to actually clean it.
Right, you have to.
I showed you a video on YouTube. They were actually cleaning the walls when they were.
You've got to use like a degreaser.
Yeah.
And it will spray. It was so thick on the windows, you'd spray it, you get these streaks of the yellow tar that would just run off of it. And so, fortunately, they did not smoke in here. Because I didn't know that when we worked next door. I went through and started spraying it. And then I just see all these runs of all the paint. And I'm like, what's going on? And I found that out. And we ended up having to use this primer that was like $150 for a 5-gallon bucket. So these are the perils of being a landlord. Like I said, it's cost effective because we do the work. If I were to pay somebody to come through here and redo this between the carpet and the laminate flooring, the painting, the spackling, any electrical work, the appliances, it would probably be about $6,000 or $7,000 on turning it over. As it is, it's me down here for 5 or 6 days and materials. So that's the way you can kind of increase your profit margin. So we're going to get to work.